Juste vite fait, je voulais dire qu'on va appuyer la motion qui est devant le Parlement aujourd'hui. C'est quelque chose qui touche la question d'abordabilité, bien sûr, mais il faut dire aussi que le gouvernement a paniqué la semaine passée. Ils ont créé un espace où certaines personnes peuvent recevoir une aide pendant une période où tout le monde en arrache et d'autres personnes n'en reçoivent pas. L'MPD, l'année passée, a tenté d'enlever le TPS sur tous les chauffages résidentiels. Les conservateurs ont refusé, les libéraux aussi, l'année passée. Aujourd'hui, on a tenté de demander la motion aussi, en disant la même chose, que TPS, si on enlève ça, c'est équitable, ça correspond à tout le monde à travers le pays, puis ça fait en sorte que ça aide autant de gens. Encore une fois, les conservateurs ont refusé. Mais la réalité, c'est qu'il faut aider ces gens-là. Et la réalité aussi, c'est que pour nous, qui prônent vraiment un plan d'action climatique robuste, on a vu comment ce gouvernement libéral n'a pas fait ce qu'il devrait faire justement pour mettre en place tous les éléments pour réduire les émissions de gaz à effet de serre. Alors, pendant un hiver qui est froid, on veut que ces gens-là, les gens à travers le pays, reçoivent de l'aide. Alors, c'est pour cette raison-là qu'on va voter pour la motion, mais bien sûr, l'MPD va continuer à parler et dans les prochains jours, vous allez voir l'approche environnementale et aussi les autres éléments d'abordabilité qu'on veut amener. So we'll be voting yes on the motion that's coming up for a vote next week. We believe that the panicked reaction of Liberals a few days ago, it seemed to be tied to electoral chances more than anything else, to create a situation where in certain parts of the country people receive some support in a difficult winter where they're struggling to make ends meet and to keep their homes heated, and other Canadians wouldn't benefit from that. Last year, we tried to get the GST taken off home heating right across this country. Conservatives and Liberals refused to do that. Today, again, we tried to amend this motion by ensuring that the GST was taken off home heating. The reality is that's a much more equitable way of doing it. It gives the same benefit to people who are struggling to make ends meet, to put food on the table, to keep a roof over their head and to heat their homes. And the Conservatives have again refused. But we've got to be the adults in the room. So given the panicked reaction from the Liberals, seemingly tied to their polling standing in Atlantic Canada, given that the Conservatives, for once, have actually offered a motion that doesn't deny climate change, we will be supporting that motion, and we will be, you'll see in the coming days, giving more details about the NDP's climate action plan that we certainly hope, we certainly know will be more effective than the lack of action we've seen from the Liberals over the last few years.
Mr. Julian, does anything change with this stance if the Liberals make it a confidence motion?
This is clearly not a confidence motion, but it is clearly an indication to the government that what they need to do is put in supports that help people right across the country. The reality is we have people who are struggling to make ends meet, to heat their homes over the course of the winter, and the panic action of last week really needs to be adjusted so that there is supports that go to people right across the country.
Mr. Julian, a move like this could weaken Canada's carbon pricing plans. Why do the affordability concerns come before climate on this?
We believe both have to be tackled. The decision by the Liberal government last week, the panic decision that seemed to be linked to the polls, is what has, I think, put into question yet again the government's climate plan. They don't have a really successful results. They haven't made the investments in clean energy that need to happen. That's why we've been pushing them hard on ensuring that clean energy is funded, that we have good union jobs. That's part of what we have been pushing the Liberals to do. So this has created some chaos. It was a panicked, unfortunate decision. And now, as adults in the room, we have to make sure that people are taken care of and supported in a very difficult winter where they're struggling to heat their homes. But at the same time, we will continue to push the government to put in place all the other elements of climate action so that we actually have a robust climate action policy.
Let's talk about those polls. Are you watching the polls and where the NDP is competitive with the Conservatives and seeing that, you know what, you could lose some seats, and therefore you better support this motion on pausing carbon pricing on home heating? Are you afraid of the polls as well?
That is a question that comes up. You'll recall around Bill C-21 that came up. The NDP succeeded in pushing forward with a bill that actually made sense, responded to the needs to ensure that we had both firearms control but weren't going after Indigenous hunters, and there was consultation. But the public inquiry and foreign interference, it was the same thing. We pushed hard and we ensured that we actually have in place now a public inquiry into foreign interference. So it's not the polls that govern us, it's the public interest. The public interest right now is governed by people that are struggling to make ends meet. We want to make sure they get the supports and uniformly across the country.
Yeah, but I mean, Poilievre is talking about Angus and his riding and the threat that he faces. So you're telling us that this has
I've been
nothing
into
to do-
Charlie Angus's riding. He's very popular there. This is an issue of being the adults in the room. For once, the Conservatives haven't gone over the top with their motions. They generally tend to do that. They've put something that is straight up. We're going to support that because we have been trying for a year to get the GST off of home heating. Tried it last year. Conservatives didn't accept us. Neither did the Liberals accept the NDP's plan. This year, we just tried this morning to do the same thing. The reality is we need to make sure that affordability is available to all Canadians, and that's why we're supporting this motion.
What's your message to constituents in your own riding and other British Columbians, since this motion likely won't affect them since they are not under the federal backstop, they're under the BC carbon tax?
Well, I'll certainly be talking to my constituents about the fact that we tried to get the GST off, which would have applied to British Columbia, and Conservatives refused. So Conservatives, I think, made a major error in not accepting the NDP amendment. That the reality is it needs to apply right across the country. That's why we offered the amendment. It's surprising to me, yet again, that Conservatives didn't understand the importance of that.
Comptez-vous revenir avec votre proposition après le vote sur la motion conservatrice?
Oui, dans les prochains jours, vous allez voir plus sur l'MPD, notre approche vis-à-vis de l'environnement. On a plus de crédibilité que les autres partis, c'est sûr. Mais il faut dire, la panique qui s'est installée chez les libéraux avec leur décision de jeudi passé, c'est quelque chose qui n'a pas aidé l'environnement du tout. Et le fait que maintenant on a comme un poids, deux mesures qui fait en sorte que certaines personnes sont aidées, certaines personnes ne le sont pas. Ça, c'est...
En Colombie-Britannique, au Québec, qui s'approvisionnent en hydroélectricité, qui ne vont pas bénéficier de cette aide-là.
Et c'est pour cette raison-là qu'on a dit qu'il faut enlever le TPS. Et on va continuer à pousser cet aspect-là. On trouve que c'est une meilleure approche, mais on veut que les gens soient aidés.
Okay, donc, il va y avoir un congé de TPS par-dessus l'exemption.
Mais qu'est-ce qu'on a fait aujourd'hui? C'est qu'effectivement, on a... dans certaines provinces, on a un prix sur le carbone qui fait en sorte que le fait que ça soit enlevé pour 3 ans ou suspendu pour 3 ans, ça les aide. Mais le TPS dans les autres provinces, ça aurait été fait la même chose, le même bénéfice. C'est ça qu'on a proposé et les conservateurs ont dit non. Et on trouve ça malheureux pour nous. Il faut quand même être équitable à travers le pays.
So what if the Liberals make this a confidence motion, or have you been given any assurance that they will not turn this into a confidence vote?
No. This is very clearly not. So,
Have they done that in the past, though, turn certain votes into confidence?
not since I've been here, no. I mean, there's a confidence convention, as you saw us debating over the last few weeks. It's pretty clear. So, no.
Your party has consistently called the Conservatives climate deniers and such. How can you justify continuing to call them that when you're voting with them on a climate motion like this one?
It's not a climate motion at all. It's a motion that tries to stabilize a panicked government decision of last week, where they essentially said, well, some people will have access to some supports by taking off the price on carbon for certain types of fuel in certain parts of the country, and others won't. And what we're saying is people are struggling right across the country to make ends meet, and we need to provide that supports uniformly. So that the decision that was taken that undermines climate action is the confusion that the Liberals have provoked by their panicked decision. What we want to do now is, step one, ensure that everybody who is struggling to make ends meet this winter actually has the wherewithal to do that when they're paying for their heat. And then secondly, have the kind of robust environmental policies that actually will make a difference. And you'll be hearing from the NDP in the coming days on that, as you did in the last election.
So are you saying that you disagree with the original decision from the Liberals?
It is panicked. It puts one region against another. It pits one type of heating against another. In fact, it strangely seems to incentivize people for going into heating oil, which is, of course, creates a bigger carbon footprint. So it's not a smart decision. It wasn't a well thought out decision. It tends to disadvantage many people. And I think what the NDP has done in this Parliament is we continue to be the adults in the room. We look at, okay, this decision has been made. It's a bad one. How do we then make it equitable so that everybody can afford to heat their homes this winter? And then what are the other steps that need to be taken to ensure we have a robust climate change? So that's what the NDP will be doing.
How could you not call this a motion on climate change? This is a motion to pause carbon pricing, which is about reducing emissions. Are you not afraid that you're aligning yourself with a party that doesn't have a climate plan?
The decision to suspend for 3 years, that was the decision that has provoked all of the confusion. This particular motion actually seeks to stabilize that and provide right across the country the same benefit. The decision of last Thursday, was a decision that was panicked and rushed. And so we now have to figure out the best way forward. The best way forward, first off, is to ensure that people can benefit. There's not an incentive to go to heating oil. Somehow the government will subsidize that and not in other cases. It doesn't make sense. It was a panic decision. We saw members of the Liberal Atlantic Caucus behind the Prime Minister. It was panicked, it was rushed, it wasn't thought through. So what we're doing is now taking that, starting to rebuild in terms of the affordability, but above all, you'll be hearing from us about a very robust environmental plan on climate action, because that's what's needed right now, not rushed decisions like Thursday.
Aligned with a party that does not have a climate plan? Are you not concerned about being aligned with a party that does not have a climate plan?
It is the question of the motion. The motion is very clear that the motion is about affordability. This is the motion that we brought a year ago on taking the GST off of home heating. We believe in that affordability. The motion today is, for once, not a crazy climate-denying motion. It just refers to the equity of ensuring that all types of home heating and in all regions actually can benefit from that. Can I finish? Can I finish?
Denying climate change.
Absolutely. I don't support the Conservatives in any way. It is a party that is a group of climate deniers. But the decision that was taken last Thursday needs to be rectified in some way. And the GST off home heating is not something that the government seems to support or the Conservatives. This is another way of getting that equity. So that's what we're doing.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de l'attitude générale des conservateurs? Vous dites que vous faites maintenant l'adulte dans la pièce. Vous n'êtes pas né de la dernière pluie, là. Vous avez vécu plusieurs législatures ici. Hier, on a vu M. Poilievre faire une épreuve de force avec le président de la Chambre des communes.
Oui, je viens justement de parler de ça. Si vous avez, c'est pour ça que j'étais arrêtable. Non, mais justement parce que c'est un problématique, oui.
Mais est-ce que c'est unique aujourd'hui, à 2 ans des prochaines élections? Actuellement, on voit ce climat-là à quelques semaines du déclenchement de l'élection générale. Est-ce que comment vous décrivez l'ambiance ici au Parlement? L'attitude du Parti conservateur et de leur chef.
Moi, je me suis levé en Chambre aujourd'hui justement pour parler de ce climat-là. Et j'ai cité des conservateurs dans le passé justement sur la façon que les conservateurs utilisent pour essayer de s'attaquer à tous les députés de tous les autres partis. C'est malsain. Le président a des outils et j'ai demandé au président de les utiliser. Que cette idée-là qu'on peut utiliser la période des questions pour insulter d'autres députés, c'est pas approprié. C'est quelque chose que, à mon avis, le président a le pouvoir d'utiliser ces outils et de prendre de l'action justement pour faire en sorte que justement on puisse avoir une Chambre des communes dont les Canadiennes et les Canadiens peuvent être fiers.
C'est nouveau ou vous vous rappelez d'événements semblables dans le passé?
On a vécu des événements semblables dans le passé, dans les années Harper par exemple. Souvent, mais à mon avis, on a un nouveau président qui a des outils et c'est pour ça que j'ai pris comme 10 minutes, je crois, tout à l'heure pour parler justement des actions qu'il pourrait prendre. Et il a dit qu'il va considérer, il va penser à tout ça. D'autres partis ont intervenu aussi. Merci.
What can we expect to see? You said that the NDP is going to be releasing a climate plan.
We'll be talking more about the climate plan next week, but I'm not going to scoop ourselves. So
is it going to be a formal document, or is it just going to be you're going to be talking in the House?
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. But I can't scoop myself. I'm sorry. You're a very good journalist. Merci beaucoup. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.